Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 68.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I am your host, Jay Massey, and I'm so excited because I keep learning new things, and I know you guys know that, and you're on this journey with me, right? I've told you before, I tell you again, partly to keep myself accountable and partly so that you know that we're still on this goal. The goal is to get to 1,000 units and 1 million square feet of commercial space and to continue building our resort, etc. So that's what we're doing, and you get the privilege of coming along with me should you continue to listen. And at the end of the day, my goal is to help you begin to build your cash flow in any way that you see fit. As many of you know, if this is your first time, we have an exciting, I would call it exciting, free course available for you. You just go over to learninvestingnow.com. That's learninvestingnow.com. To get started with that, you get the ebook and then you get the videos, etc., so that you have the ability to get started inside of your real estate investing career. But some of you, we have heard, you're like, Jay, I've already done the seminar thing for real estate. I'm just ready to buy some now. Cool, no problem. We heard you. So you can go over to begininvestingnow.com and one of our cash flow coaches will catch up with you to make sure that you're able to be, properly fitted, if you will, for your own personal cash flowing property. And here's the cool thing. We've got some new things going on over there, and we've been able to get the price point down. I've even seen some as low as $10,500 down to get started, which has been very, very exciting to see. With all that being said, though, what's interesting is that some of you want to create cash flow in new ways. You've heard that, and you've seen that we're creating cash flow in new ways. We're learning to take things online, a podcast being one of those ways. And some of you, here's what I know. I know some of you know some really cool things, but you're trying to figure out, well, how could I possibly earn some additional income with what I already know while I learn maybe a new skill set? Today's guest is definitely someone that I've heard has the ability to help you, yes, you listening to me right now, within 72 hours, take what you know into cash, from concept to cash in 72 hours. Can you imagine that? Hopefully you can. And more importantly, he's going to explain how he's been able to do it, because he's one of the internationally recognized experts on making money with webinars. And that's what's interesting is, wow, you're like, I've never done a webinar. It doesn't matter. That's what he says. And that's what I'm excited about. And that's what I want to learn. I want to know these webinar secrets myself. So let's understand and listen. Let's take notes, really good notes too, and listen to Mr. Stephen Essa. Stephen, are you there?
Yeah, Jay, I'm here, mate. Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Love it. I'm going to do my best to ask so many questions because I just want to hear your accent over and over again. That's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to do that.
Awesome.
So, Stephen, one of the things that I do and I like to think about is I say that today's entrepreneurs are kind of like yesterday's superheroes. You know how we have like Batman and Superman and all of these comic book heroes. I'm assuming, do you have comic book heroes in Australia?
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. There's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we're basically, you can call Australia Little America when it comes to entertainment and all of that. We get all the American stuff. So yeah, we got Superman and Batman, and we're all big fans, absolutely.
Got it. And so for me, each of those superheroes has an origin story, how they began, how they became to be who they were, and to make their impact and develop their, superpowers. I think that today's entrepreneurs are, the modern day superheroes. So one of my first questions that I tend to ask nearly everybody is, tell us a little bit about, Stephen, your your origin story. How did you begin? Before you were who you are today, what did you do? What prompted you to get started in business? And, what keeps you going?
Excellent, Jay. I've been interviewed before, and I'll be careful not to take 20 minutes just on that question. But let me just briefly say my family migrated to Australia from the Middle East around 1970, and my mum and dad couldn't speak English, and they worked in factories, and it was the last thing my dad wanted me to do, working in a factory, because he had an accident and had some fingers severed, and ended up on a compensation, getting money from the government and stuff, and really sent the family backwards. And as I grew into the man that I am today, I realized that my dad went through depression at that time, and he just gave up the will to live at that point. And for me, school was like, I tried hard in school, but I could never get anywhere. And, I always failed school. It was like I passed a few things, but overall, I was not a great student. I was more, interested in what was happening outside, and had trouble concentrating. Probably the Coca-Cola I used to drink before I went to school was a hindrance. But my parents never knew what was in that because they couldn't read the ingredients. So it was great for me as a kid, but not good for my teachers. But so I went through school and thought I was pretty dumb, actually. And had it not been for, I was terrible with maths and all of that, and I wasn't good with money in any way. I was broke most of my life, and I fell into music in year 11 in school, and started playing music, and I realized that's my dream. I'm going to become a musician and play in a band, and that's going to be my meal ticket. I'm going to write a hit song, and it's going to earn me royalties, and that's what I'm going to do. And I just grabbed onto that dream, and no one was going to tell me otherwise. I started practicing 3 days a week, created a band, and we started touring around Australia. And during that time, we weren't making any money. So my dad said, you have to get a trade to fall back on, something solid. Job security is important. You got to get something to fall back on, because he didn't want me to be a factory worker. And that's where I really didn't want to, but I needed money to buy the equipment. I took a trade in what we call here panel beating, but in America, I think it's called body mechanic or a body man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did 4 years of that. I call it 4 years of hell, dust and grime, and I hated every day of it, Jay. I love driving nice cars, but I hate working on them. And to this day, I did 4 years. I served my time, and I got a license, and then I left. I got the hell out of there, and I went pursuing my dream of playing around the world and doing tours. And by the time we got to America, they said, you've come at the worst time. In 2002 to 2005, we lived in America trying to make it in Hollywood. We struggled, and eventually the band fell apart. It kind of imploded, we were just pretty shattered at the time. And I just said to myself, I'm going back to Australia. I'm going to build an internet business, and I'm going to invest in real estate, because at that time I'd read some Robert Kiyosaki books, and I bought his board game, and thanks to his board game, I was actually able to figure out that I know enough about mathematics to be able to build a property portfolio and to be able to run a business. So thanks to him, really, in those first few books, particularly the Cash Flow Quadrant and the Rich Dad's Guide to Investing books, I just realized I needed to learn. And I had no computer skills, but I had a big desire. And I found a mentor who had 80 investment properties in Australia, and I started studying under him, and I learned what to do, more importantly, what not to do. And I started building a portfolio, and the market crashed in 2008, and I just ran straight to the internet to generate cash flow, because I remembered what Robert Kiyosaki said: build a business first, then invest in real estate. And that's what I did. I said, the internet, I mean, if you can't make money on the internet right now with the way that it's going, I mean, you just seriously, there's something wrong with you, because there's so many easy strategies, and me and my wife are constantly having to turn strategies down, because we're like, hey, we can't focus on all of these 50 different strategies, so we just have to focus with one. And I kind of fell into webinars through a mentor of mine. And I started doing them in 2008 and started making tremendous income, and I just got branded as the webinar guy. So it kind of happened by accident. And now I love helping other people to do the same. And it is the easiest strategy to make money online and deliver massive value to your customers, if that's important to you as well.
Wow. Okay, now I understand why you say you're going to try to not take 20 minutes because there's so much there. I mean, what I thought was interesting, I mean, just, and hopefully those of you listening, you caught something that I thought was interesting because I'm going to argue with you one thing. You said you weren't a good student. And I think you were a great student, maybe a horrible academic. And those are two different things because you've had to study your business and to be able to grow. You've had to study the marketplace and be able to change, and you did those things. And you and I have something very, very in common. It was the Cash Flow 101 board game that got me started, well, I guess over a decade ago now, when I first ran into the board game. And it changed myself and my wife, and it just turned our head around. And then you mentioned the book Cash Flow Quadrant, which I definitely think is one of the most important, if not the most important book that he's ever written, and always recommending to people. And then you mentioned how you were learning from someone else, and most importantly, it wasn't so much about what you learned to do, but you learned what not to do, and you were willing to rely upon your big desire more than going, hey, I don't know how to do all these things. Now, I got a couple of questions though. How on earth, I mean, right now, when you look at the world, you go, there's just so much opportunity online everywhere. So what would you say to that person? Because you said there are so many easy strategies. So first of all, there's got to be a whole lot of them. They've got to be easy to an internet novice like myself. What would you say is what are those easy strategies that some people are missing that you see that you're turning down?
Some of the ones I'm turning down before we move on to where I want people to start, which is the with the webinars. My wife and I were talking just yesterday. Her father is a writer in Europe. He lives in Greece, and he writes for many newspapers, and there's so many journalists that are going under right now. But there's this phenomenon called blogging. And every business needs a blog, and most businesses aren't updating their blog, which means they don't get the benefits of Google. Google wants it fresh, relevant content all the time, and that's what they're going to show, your website in the search engines when people search for things. But businesses don't have time to write blogs. And my wife said to me, "You know what would be a big business that my customers are asking for?" Because she runs a multi-million-dollar social media management company, which is another easy opportunity. I mean, you can manage social media accounts for businesses. You manage 30 accounts, you charge $300 a month. There's a $10,000 a month business. That's how we started with my wife's social media management. And we ran that on a webinar and sold 30 units at $300 a month in 2 automated webinars that we ran. So there's a $10,000 a month business idea, 30 accounts at $300. And all you need to do is post a couple of tweets each day and answer back. And if any leads get captured, forward them onto the business. And that's, social media management is a huge need out there, and businesses are dying for it. They don't have the money to hire someone internally, and we've exploited that area, and it's fantastic. People love the service we provide. We have a huge company called Social Media Worldwide, and that's my wife's company, and we actually incorporated that in America with a business partner over there who just sold one of her internet companies for over 10 million. Which is why we partnered with her. Again, seeking out people who've done it before is the easiest way to success, and I've always done that because I always realized I was too dumb to do it on my own or figure it out on my own. So social media management's a huge one, Jay. The blogging one I was saying before, she said, wow, my father would absolutely love to make money just being able to write because journalists are going broke. And there's businesses who needs blog posts written, and they would happily pay $300 to $500 a month to have their blog updated. And my wife said, without even trying, I could get 30 members paying, $300 to $500 a month. And I said, yeah, we need to focus on building, your company, just so that's one. That's another idea. There's another idea, teaching learning one strategy and then teaching it. Like, so for example, you can become good at, for example, webinars. Okay, so like what I teach you here today on this call, you can go away and apply it to other businesses and charge them a fee. I've got one of my students who paid me big money to coach her. She started teaching teachers and librarians in the academic schools, primary schools and secondary schools. She's teaching teachers how to teach kids using new media, using Twitter, using Facebook, using bookmarking. So that's her, and her business is called eduwebinar.com.au. And she rang me recently. She said, I've got the education, some sort of board that rang her and said, we want to run some webinars as well. How much will you charge us to set all this up? She said, I'll get back to you. So she calls me. She goes, oh, they want to pay me. How much should I charge? I said, well, what do they want you to do? Oh, they want me to set up the webinar and this and this and this. I said, charge them $10,000. And she called them back. She said, I'll charge you $10,000 to set it all up. They said, yeah, no problem. Where do we pay you? Um, so just setting up webinars after what Jay and I teach you here today, for businesses who need them, is a hugely profitable one. And what I'm doing now in my business, I have three very simple business models. One is I teach people how to do webinars. We sell them a course where they can do it themselves. Number two, we charge $75,000 to do it for them. Or number three, we take a 50-50 stake in the company. And that's only a very select few, but I now have 6 companies generating $5,000 to $50,000 a month, and all I do is handle the webinar side, and that takes me about 2 hours a week for each business. The business I work the most in is my business because I'm the expert, and that's where it becomes a bit of a problem if you want to have a lifestyle. Being the expert in your business means you're going to end up, having to do the work. So the huge business now is I can actually retire now based on the companies that I have working for me, where I'm not the expert. I'm the behind the scenes guy that sets up the webinars and helps them with the strategy. And that takes, as I said, 2 hours. So there's 3 strategies right now, Jay, that people can do. There's many, many more that, we could just spend the next 8 hours talking about those, but I think those 3 are my top. If I had to start from scratch, you had to take away everything. I think those 3 things would be at the top of the list. But number 1 would be the webinars, because that's the easiest for me.
Got it. Now, I think it's interesting that you and I share a very common philosophy. I often tell people my goal is to be the dumbest person in the room, and which doesn't necessarily mean I don't know anything. It's just I don't want to be the one that's supposedly the answer guy and has everything, all those answers per se. And what's interesting to me is you mentioned the social media management, and I'm just going, yeah, could use that. Teaching strategy. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. And we've got someone who's now helping us with a lot of our writing because there's just so much of it to do. I find it interesting that I would have never considered, hiring out writing services on a monthly basis for a monthly fee, et cetera, et cetera. And then if I'm teaching, if you're talking about teaching strategies, then you're really saying anything I know or anyone listening knows could be turned into a webinar or some sort of teaching strategy in some way, shape, or form. So I guess in essence, not to be political, but you're saying unemployment could be 0, man. That's what I hear you say.
Absolutely, man. Really, I 100% believe that, because, a business right now that is not doing webinars, for example, okay, is losing money. Okay, if they've got a database of existing clients, okay, or a prospects list of any kind, and I quit my job back in 2008 with a list of 500 people. So you don't need a lot of people to make a lot of money with webinars, because a webinar will get you a 10% conversion rate. Whereas a website will get you a 1% conversion rate if it's a good website. Now, I know a lot of us listening here on the call have websites that have made no money, okay? Because every website I built when I started made me $0, okay, or $9 or something. So I never build a business with a website. I don't, until I've built a web business that's making money, I don't build a website for that business. And it sounds totally backwards. How do you build a web business without a website? And it's through a webinar. But if everyone who's unemployed right now and sitting there saying, hey, I don't have any knowledge worth teaching. I've only bought one property, one building unit where, Jay, you've got, 300 units. I can't compete with you. Who would want to listen to me? And what people do is they talk themselves out of the game before they've even started. But the truth is that all of us do things in a unique way. If you've succeeded in property renovating, or you've made money renovating, or whatever, people want to hear that. And, why not just put it out there and see? But even if you're still not convinced by that, and you still think that, hey, I've done nothing, and no one would want to hear from me, then go to a business who's already successful, who's already doing well, who's got a database, and say, hey, let me set up a webinar for you, and you only
Mm.
pay me if you make money. You only pay me 50% if you make money, or 20%, or pay me a one-time fee of $5,000 or $10,000, or if I can make you, 50 grand, then pay me 10 grand, or whatever it is. Work out a deal. We've done many of them in different ways with many different companies. My students have come to me without ideas, and we've gone to businesses and approached them and made money for them, and you can do it that way. And really, the risk is entirely on you and not the business. The business would be a stupid business to turn you down, and you could really get rid of unemployment if people were willing to do that.
See, now we're solving all of the world's problems on this one show. This is great.
Oh, if only it was that easy.
Well, while we're speaking of, solving problems, some of you have had the problem of waiting for the book to finally get here. Well, here's the good news. The good news is by the time you are listening to my voice, that's right, by the time you are listening to my voice, every United States domestic order should have been shipped. So, for those of you in the UK, and those of you in Estonia, and those of you possibly in Germany and the other places where this show is actually heard right now, your orders will be shipping. Obviously, we're just going to take a little bit of extra processing time with the whole international shipping thing. However, if you can hear my voice and you placed a pre-order for the book, guess what? It's on the way to you and signed. This also includes those of you who have answered our cash flow question. If you've answered our cash flow question, again, if you're US domestic and you answered our cash flow question, that also has been shipped by the time you are listening to my voice right now. For those of you, if you want to, and you're still like, ooh, I want to get a copy of the book now that he's got some, you want to send a text message to area code 949-682-3565, area code 949-682-3565. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and send the keyword. The keyword is book, B-O-O-K, B-O-O-K, 949-682-3565. Or if you can't send a text because you are international, you can go over to cashflowdiary.com/book, cashflowdiary.com/book. That will also allow you to download a sample chapter as well as order the book or order the electronic version as well as the physical version. And then, yes, to answer the ever popular question, because I have gotten it, is will there be an audiobook? Yes, there will be an audiobook. We are in the process of working on that whole idea. And to answer the question that comes right after that is yes, it will be me. I will go ahead and voice or narrate, I guess is the correct word, narrate the audiobook as well. So hopefully, if you hadn't got enough of me and my voice in the podcast, you'll have it in the book as well. Isn't that awesome? One more quick announcement for those of you. In fact, it's funny. I've never mentioned this at the podcast at all. But if you ever have a real estate question, we have a show that we broadcast Tuesdays 4 p.m. Again, that's Tuesdays 4 p.m. Pacific time. Tuesdays 4 p.m. Pacific time. We call it the Q&A with Jay, where you can actually type in questions live. I will answer them live. You can send in deals ahead of time. I'll show you how to break them down, how to do them. For those of you that are members, you have access to the archives. You can see all the episodes. We've been doing this for a number of months, and I've just never told you guys, and I apologize in advance. Cashflowdiary.tv, cashflowdiary.tv. And if you want, you can get on the list at cashflowdiary.tv/updates. That way you know not only when we're doing the episodes of Q&A with Jay, but occasionally we broadcast other things that we're doing as well. Anyway, that's enough for this particular segment. As you can tell, when oh man, this information that's coming to us from all these entrepreneurs is so valuable. It's so helpful. I'm hoping you're getting a lot out of it because I'm excited, and hopefully you're seeing that we're implementing these things as real time as humanly possible because this is the cash flow diary. That's the point, is we're documenting this process of all the things that we've been doing to be able to get to the 1,000 units and the million square feet. That you get to follow us along, you get to understand how we're doing it. Hopefully this is helping you. I know it's helping me to be able to have access to the entrepreneurs. We bring them to you because I know that this same information would help you as well. Anyway, let's get back to it. Now, you mentioned something that I thought was interesting. You said a 10% conversion rate. Now, you're the webinar expert. Is that the goal? Is that is that a real number, or is that the hope that, you would say if someone was doing webinars that they should, that one day you're doing really, really awesome if you can get this high?
No, that's a standard webinar conversion rate.
I
Okay.
see.
Yeah, webinars produce 10%, 10 times higher conversion rates than websites. And I've been doing them. I've probably, without blowing my own horn, I think I've probably coached and sat through more webinars than anyone else in the world right now, because we've been doing it for the last 5 years. And the kind of coaching we do, especially in our high level, is we have to sit through the webinar meticulously and give feedback to the student one at a time. And even our lower level programs that we offer, my trainers actually sit down, look at the webinar, and then critique the slides and give them a video back and saying this and this and this. So we've probably sat through more webinars than anybody in the world. And when you do have to get it right. And to get it right, we'll tell you, you need to have a really, really good webinar with lots of good content. You want to give away lots of good content in your webinar, and then you want to make what we call an irresistible offer at the end, like what The Godfather in. I'm sure everyone's seen The Godfather. You make them an offer they can't refuse, and we're all buyers. I'm a buyer. I buy stuff every day online, on TV and stuff. It doesn't matter if you know the sales and marketing formula, you still buy things that you need. Like you were interested immediately when I said, someone to do the writing for you, someone to do your social media management, how to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
10% higher conversions on webinars, because these are things that you're interested in. They're the things I'm interested in. So I'm buying stuff all the time. So you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And when you make the right offer to a target audience who's interested in that, and you've delivered and you've demonstrated to them through your knowledge on the webinar, you've given generously, and you've compelled them with what you've taught them. They're excited. They want to do that. You just have to make a great offer, and 10% of people or more will take it up. And here's the other best part, Jay. You can actually sell a product worth 10 times more, okay, on a webinar, and still produce a 10 times higher conversion rate than a website. So here's what I mean. On a website, you will struggle to get a 1% conversion rate for a $30 ebook or a $30 product, whatever it is that you're selling. Most people tell you, hey, build a web business, create an ebook, and then put it online and sell it. And most people, they won't even get one conversion, let alone 1%, because there's a lot of work that has to go into a sales letter or a website where you're selling something with words, okay? And basically, they write this sales letter, they send it out there, and the website does nothing. It makes hardly any sales, or 1% if it's quite good, okay? And it's a $30 product. I will take the same information that went into that ebook or that book, and I will turn it into 8 weekly webinars, okay, which we haven't created yet. I'll sell it for $300 or more, and I'll get 10% conversion rate. Okay, so for every 100 people that come, I'm going to sell 10 of those. That's $3,000 compared to $300. Okay, and I haven't created anything yet. I'm basically just going to deliver each webinar once a week live when people buy it, and then I'm going to record it, and then I'm going to automate it, and then the product is finished. I have a $300 product which will run on its own when people buy it in the future, because I've delivered it live to the audience as the first group purchase it. And that's how we build every business that we start. I never start with a website. After I've actually created that program and had the expert record it over the 8 weeks or 12 weeks or however many modules they're doing. I put that into a membership site, which you can build for, $300 these days to $1,000, and then new members who buy it from the automated webinar, they can watch it later in your membership site. And that's how we've built 6 companies now, and I've helped I've over 1,000 students now to date to do the same thing.
Got it. Now, with all of that content and all of that experience, you have got to have seen some absolutely strange webinars. I want to know, I'm kind of curious, what's the craziest thing that you, like, when you saw it, you were like, there's no way people are going to buy this, but they went and bought it anyway. What was one of those things where you're looking at it going, we'll try it and see what happens, and then you're like, I cannot, but this thing works no matter what, because people bought that too.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 things that come to mind. Number one is I was in Dubai on our world tour last year, and as I was telling you before we started recording, at that world tour, what we do is I draw a bunch of people out of the audience who have some knowledge, and I tell them to tell the audience what their webinar would be about if they were going to run a webinar. And the audience votes for the person that they like the most. Now, in Dubai last year, the audience voted for this woman who's a back pain specialist. She specializes in helping people get rid of back pain. And I was saying to myself, oh, God, please don't choose the back pain lady. I mean, that's going to be a hard one. Choose the real estate guy that shows you how to get no money down property in Dubai, or something that I'll be interested in, Anyway, they chose the back pain lady. A lovely lady. Funnily enough, she was an American lady. I don't remember where she was from. Virginia or somewhere, Colorado, I can't remember. And she is a back pain specialist that studied under this German fella who created an amazing back pain thing. So anyway, we gave her our webinar PowerPoint presentation template. We had her fill it in. We sat with her. We filled it in. I ran through the webinar a couple of times. I struggled to get an hour of content out of her. We ran through the webinar, and she did 6,000 dirhams, which is around about $2,000 in sales I think it was I think we got to 60 minutes or 40 minutes. I can't remember the exact minutes, 40 or 60 minutes, and that was bizarre for me. What was bizarre was we present the webinar live around the world, but live to the audience, so the audience can see her computer screen. And what was amazing as she was going through the content was she was showing the spinal cord and what a herniated disc was and whatever. It was my idea to show the pain, what happens over time. Here's what your back looks like when you have a herniated disc and all of that stuff. And she showed that, and the audience was sitting up straight in their chairs every time she was like showing the spine, leaning over. And so that was a bizarre topic for me, that I thought, wow, it's not just business and investing and stuff that you can sell on webinars. You can really get into health and well-being and stuff like that. And the second, more bizarre one, came on stage. The girl came on stage with another guy. There was a Forex trading expert and this other woman who showed men, I think it was, now I don't want to misquote or offend anyone here, but I think it was something about showing men how to have the ultimate orgasm or something like that. And it was like, and I was praying that the audience did not vote for her, but I think they saw me sweating, and they actually started really cheering. Particularly the guys started really cheering when I said, "Who wants to see this webinar?" And then the crowd went crazy. "Who wants to see the Forex webinar?" And the crowd went crazy for her. So it's actually, in fact, I promised to help her as well, but I wasn't going to be prepared to run that one live around the world to my database.
That was not work.
But she was a great sport, and she was genuinely helping men with problems. And she's got a full schedule. I speak to her and I see her on Facebook. We're friends on Facebook, so I see her. Fortunately, we ran the Forex webinar, and that made $23,000 in just under 2 hours. So that was a little savior. But I never cease to amaze me how many different topics you can talk about. There's these niche topics, that things I've never heard about, like things to do with science and things to do with all sorts of topics. Now we're seeing webinars. I mean, I've been talking about it for 5 years. Now we're seeing webinars on all sorts of crazy topics in industries. And, one of my clients is a dermatology veterinarian, and he built a membership. We built him his first membership site, charging vets 47 to 97 pounds a month. He has over 400 vets doing their 100 hours of continued professional development, which they have to do by law. Every year they have to do it, and now they are accredited to watch webinars on his site and do their 100 hours online.
Awesome.
Yeah, so all sorts of topics. I had one client was an airline pilot. He was selling a 50,000 pound training program for student pilots trying to get their license and trying to get their hours up. And he did 450,000 pounds in sales from 2 automated webinars, thanks to our system. And many different success stories, from internet experts to traders to property gurus that we've helped to. I get calls every week now from property gurus and different people in Australia saying, hey, we want to automate, we want to go online more, we want to stop doing seminars, we want to stop doing that, can we meet with you? And I said, you can watch my webinar, but you can't talk to me because I'm busy. So that's pretty much some of the bizarre topics anyway.
No doubt. I mean, and I'm guessing then you probably see this happen everywhere you go. I mean, if you're doing these world tours, it doesn't. I'm almost willing to bet, because I can feel. I can remember when I was thinking about us and what we were going to offer people. I'm like, who's going to take the time to listen? Who would care? Would that be one of the more common things that you hear, no matter where you go?
Yeah, people are doubting. Again, they doubt two things. They say, number one, they doubt themselves as an expert. They go, "Oh, I've only got 3 properties. Who am I to give property advice and teach people?" And the second thing is they go, "Well, who would want to hear that? Who would be interested?" And I tell you, there isn't a webinar we run with under 100 people on it these days. And you just got to stop and think about that for a second. It's like, hang on a minute, we've got a minimum of 100 people listening to a webinar each week. Okay, in some cases 300, 400 people. And you take 300 people and take them to your house. I mean, your house is going to get crowded. I mean, it's a lot of ears listening. And when when you're getting a 10% conversion rate like we are, we ran another webinar this week. This is I just want to tell everyone listening now, it's like, this is stuff I do every week. This is not a strategy I did 5 years ago and I taught it and I made more money teaching it. I'm making tons of money from actually doing this every week. One of my students ran a webinar this week on Wednesday night, and he did 16 sales at $300. He's made now over $25,000 in sales from his webinar. And what does he teach people? He teaches people how to outsource effectively for their business, how to outsource, how to hire someone to outsource, where to outsource to, how to basically train them, all of that stuff. And he's selling a program that does that. And at the back end, he sells outsourcers. So if you want an outsourcer, he'll hire them for you and fire them for you for a fee. And that's yet another webinar which just made money this week. It's just really amazing. To give you some really mind-blowing figures, because I know people get excited with big figures, but they don't believe they can achieve them. But this is what's possible. One of my businesses is an options trading business. Now, my business partner ran a webinar. I was running another webinar at the same time with another business partner on how to get videos ranked on the page 1 of Google. On that webinar, we did $5,500, and it was a 10% conversion rate. And on the other webinar, my business partner was running on the options business, he was training a group of already existing clients about some advanced strategies, and he sold a $10,000 a year program with 13 people on the webinar. He made 8 sales. That's $80,000
Wow.
with 13 people on the webinar. The replay went out, another 4 sales at 10,000 a piece, $120,000 in sales from a webinar. Okay, and what is he delivering? He's delivering a 1 webinar group session per week for that elite group of $10,000 a year customers.
Wow.
So he didn't even have a product, Jay. So if you're listening now and you don't have a product, perfect. Don't go out there and build a website. Don't go out there and try and write an ebook and spend 6 months perfection. Like what I would do. I'm a terrible writer, so I spend 6 months trying to write a book and then never release it because I'm too perfectionizing it. Just record a webinar, give lots of great value for people. At the end, you say to them, if you've enjoyed this, you can spend the next 8 weeks with me on more webinars, pay $300, and I'll send you a link, and you can jump on a system called GoToWebinar. You send them an invitation to the people who buy it. The people who don't buy it, you don't have to do anything. You've just delivered great value for 60 minutes or 90 minutes. The people who bought it, they can continue the journey with you. And our statistics show 10% of people want to go further, faster. They will invest with you $300 or $3,000. And then once you've done that, then you go, okay, work with the customers, find out where they succeeded, where they failed, figure out where your program needs to improve, and offer them the next service they need. Some of them will say, you know what, Steve, I love the course, but you know what, I don't have time to do it. Do you have a done for you service? Yes, absolutely. We can buy a property for you. It's $5,000. Put the money in our bank account, and then we'll buy you the property. We'll get it for you. Or it's $10,000. And this is how I build, 10,000, 25,000. Even my program, $75,000. Now I'm taking that first program that I sold for $300, and I'm adding more value to it to give the customers more, and then I'm selling it for more money on a webinar, on future webinars. So that's how we can start to create a range of products, Jay, that people want, just by figuring out what they want, how we can help them, and then giving them that product, because they're telling you effectively what they want by their actions in the first program you offer.
So clearly, this is the first time you've done a webinar, right? Wow. I mean, you see these things on Facebook where, go to webinar and all this other stuff. This is news to me, the size and the scope. I mean, we just started and we've been dabbling with this whole webinar idea a little bit, and you clearly have gotten this thing absolutely perfected. So I've got a question I'm sure everyone else is thinking right now, because if they're anything like any other entrepreneur I know, they've got ideas swimming through their head and they're going, okay, you clearly know what you're doing. It sounds like you can take me from start to money in 72 hours or less. My guess is you have something that we could take advantage of that would help us do that. How would we best take what you've just shared with us and begin to act on it today so that we could begin our journey down this webinar process?
Yeah, absolutely. We run a live event. We're on a world tour now. I'm not sure, when people are listening to this, if it's available at the time, but it's something that we've spent the last 5 years figuring out. What is the best way to prove to people that they can do this? Okay, because I physically could not go out and help every business out there that needs help with webinars. I just couldn't do it, no matter how hard I tried. And a lot of them won't go out there and do it themselves, study themselves. They don't even know what a webinar is. So what we've put together is an event called the Web Business Breakthrough. And at that event, what we do is we demonstrate and prove live in front of the audience what I'm teaching you here today and what we teach in our program. So we get all of the people from the audience who've got some knowledge and expertise, and we invite them on stage. And sometimes this process takes 2 hours because we interview every one of them for 60 seconds. They have to tell the audience what they would teach. The audience votes, and then I work with them personally to build a webinar presentation. On Sunday, we launch that live to my entire database. We launch it to the seminar room, and we see if we can make money. And if we make money, great, we present the check to them. If we don't make money, I dissect why I believe that didn't work and what I would do next. Because it's not all over if you don't make money on your webinar. In fact, most people, especially if they haven't got our program and our training, or they haven't had some sort of training from someone who's an expert at it, they're probably, going to make some sales or make no sales, and that's okay. It doesn't mean no one wants it. It doesn't mean it's bad. But I would just give an autopsy on why I think it didn't work. And we've done this, I think, 19 times, and 17 times we made money. The 2 times that it didn't make money, we were able to dissect them, improve them, and then those folks went on to make money. One of those guys became my business partner right now. So we've made over 50 grand together already. So that's what we do. And through the weekend, we're teaching everyone else in the audience exactly what we're doing with that person. And that way they get to see. And also you win a chance. If you're in the audience, you actually get a chance to come on stage and tell everyone what you've got. And I did this in Los Angeles last year in February, and we had a fella called BJ Min who teaches you how to write ebooks and upload them to Amazon and make $4,000 a month with Amazon. He made just over $5,000, I think it was, in 60 minutes. And then in Colorado last year in May, when we were there, another guy called Dan Kurtz, he has an SEO business, and he made, I think it was over $7,000 recurring monthly income from the webinar he sold. He's also become a joint venture partner of mine, and so we make friends with these guys. If they help me make money and I help them make money, they kind of like me. So the best thing you could do really is get along to that event. Do what you got to do to get along to it. It's May the 9th to the 11th in Boulder, Colorado, at an venue called the St. Julian Hotel. Really nice place, Boulder. And if you can't make it to that, then get over to steveessa.com. That's STEVE, ESS for Sam, A for Apple, steveessa.com. And that's where you can register for a recording of a webinar that I do. And it teaches you all about how to run a webinar, and also teaches you about my medical center model, which is where you go and find experts and build this for them and take 50% equity stake in the company, and how to do that, and what that, have a look at some of the businesses I've done. I've got 6 businesses now that generate 5 to 50 grand a month, and have a look at some of those and get some ideas on how you can do that. But they're probably the 2 best resources that I could probably recommend to people, Jay.
Awesome. I mean, I love the creativity that you've applied to solving a problem, because you've removed excuses. It's, there's the excuse of, hey, I don't know anything. But okay, cool. Even if you think you don't know anything, you do. But if you think you don't, someone else does. So go help them. And no matter what the process is you have a way to help people get out of their situation. So I commend you for the work that you've done. I commend you for not giving up, because if your journey is anything like nearly every entrepreneur's journey I've ever been in contact with, you've had difficulty from here or there, and yet you still continue with the mission and the vision, and it just sounds like you just want to help people be able to spread what it is that they know, and do so such that they can better themselves. And I am very grateful that you indeed do exactly what you do.
Thank you so much, mate. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
So with that being said, I definitely want to just thank you for investing your time here with the audience. I know if they're anything right now, they're probably already talking and or typing and looking for Web Business Breakthrough, and they're going over to your website trying to understand, okay, all right, so you're saying I can create a webinar, I don't need a website, all this other stuff. I'm just, again, very, very grateful for you taking your time to be here. Thank you very, very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, now, everybody, guess what it's time to do? It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. If you know what that means you are already typing on websites, writing things down, writing down those 3 actionable steps that you are going to take from listening to Stephen and myself today. Because you know what? Nothing changes until you do. And one of the most important things you can do is never leave the scene of a decision without taking some measurable action, as you have heard me say before. So it's time to get that done. And I look forward to talking to all of you guys again soon. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.